I'm always very perplexed with the way that so many people, not just people of color, but white people actually, a lot of white people, the way they talk about people of color. All right? I mean, the way that people of color talk about themselves and the way that many white people talk about people of color is so similar. Like to like the whole narrative that we need to feel bad for black people is so toxic. Yeah, and if you bring that up, like, listen, I don't feel bad for black people. Let's say, I don't pity them. What are you talking about? I don't pity them. But the way they talk about them, it's impossible to believe that they don't pity them. Yeah? Because they talk about black people like they literally can't amount to anything. I mean, black people talk about themselves like they can't amount to anything. Not all, yeah, I'm not, but many black people, I mean, by and large, the black community in the United States is so pathetic. And I hate to use that word, and I know it's going to rile some people up, but they really are. I mean, they hate themselves and they don't realize it. It's subconscious, and to me that's why you see this many people doing backflips to try and you know justify hating white people for no reason. I mean, it's amazing what you'll find on Facebook and social media among many of these just insane accounts of these black separatists and segregationists and supremacists. And they don't know they're black supremacists, but it's funny, they are. And what they're preaching is just unbelievably divisive, and they hate white people, and they don't realize it, but they hate themselves because they talk about themselves like they are the most enable beings on earth. Uh, it's just absolutely pathetic, and the revisionist history, not a fan. Yeah, not a fan of it. Doesn't matter how many backflips you do. The Egyptians weren't black. Um, were there some black Egyptians? Yeah. I mean, it's North Africa, but nope. Just look at the statues. Look at those eyes. They're not black. Um, and the complete denial of Africa's involvement in the enslavement of their own people. Africans had slaves, yeah. They enslaved their own people and sold them to the Europeans. It's not like the Europeans just fucking stormed that continent and then just riled up all these wild black people. Yeah, because they were just running around like gazelles, like fucking like lions. Like there was no hierarchy, no structure, no villages. They were just fucking were roaming the desert like wild animals. They make it. That's honestly how they make it sound. They make it sound like they were so fucking unorganized and just so primitive, and it's unbelievable because this isn't controversial what I'm saying. It's a fact. This is a reality. This is what happened. The elite blacks enslaved other blacks. Just like every other fucking race in the world, they've enslaved their own people. But what people don't realize is that for that time, enslaving people of a different color was the thing to do because it wasn't acceptable anymore to enslave people of your color. You had to enslave people of another color. You had to. That is only what was acceptable. If you were enslaving people of your own color, it was not okay. And the founding fathers were the most progressive people in the world at that time, um, and did they hold prejudiced views? I wouldn't doubt it, but they were still nonetheless the most progressive people on earth. Um, I mean, the rights that you have in the United States are not going to be afforded to you anywhere else, contrary to what the, incredibly left-wing determiners of, what makes a country free will say. The U.S. really is one of the most, if not the most free country in the world. And one of the biggest reasons to that is that you have true freedom of speech. You're allowed to say whatever you want, as long as it's not inciting direct violence or putting anyone in danger. And no, hate speech is not putting anyone in danger. Deal with it. And what I'm saying is not hate speech. What I'm saying is the antithesis of hate speech. It's reality speech. And more people need to get on that shit, because people have been having their heads in the sand for far too long. And we need to wake up. Really. Oh, I hate saying that. Oh, wait, be woke. Say, wake up. I hate that. I shouldn't have said that, but it revisionist history is a blight, completely disregarding black people's involvement in their own subjugation is a blight. The soft bigotry of low expectations is a blight, which many white people and black people, put on to people of color. Just, oh, boo-hoo, I'm black, I could hardly get out of bed this morning. I mean, it's pathetic. It's fucking pathetic. Like, black people have the ability to save money and be responsible just like any other person. Yeah. They have the ability to have kids at an appropriate age, just like any other person. Yeah. Which many of them don't. Oddly enough, the wealth in this country it literally exactly follows the age at which people have children. Yeah. Jews and Asians have children the oldest, then whites, then Hispanics, then blacks. And wealth, interestingly enough, and proportionally, exactly the fucking same. Just like that. It's fucking incredible. It's almost as if having kids when you're still a kid yourself will, like, make or break your fucking life. So don't have kids when you're 20. Yeah, that's a good rule. And people of color have the ability to set goals for themselves. They have the ability to meet those goals. They have the ability to work at least 40 hours a week. They have the ability to join the army. They have the ability to join unions. Stop oppressing yourself. That is the biggest piece of advice I could give to any person of color who complains about being a person of color is stop oppressing yourself. The biggest obstacle in your way, preventing you from becoming successful, is you. Yeah? And then rich people. And not even rich people. Just the system. And ironically enough, the system is what gives you the ability to become wealthy and successful. So it's kind of a catch-22. But, there are obstacles in everyone's way. White people have been afforded more generational wealth. That's a fact. But, and it has that part and parcel been due to oppression? Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. The few amount of black people who fought in World War II were not afforded the ability to get government-backed mortgages and loans when they got back. White people were. That was a huge determiner in building of wealth over the past century. And, black people haven't been afforded that. But there's nothing that we can do about it today. It's unfortunate that happened in the past. I think that, over 95, probably 98% of people in the U.S. Are not racist. Are, I don't know, I'd probably more like 90% of the people in the U.S. are not racist. They believe the same thing that any moderately liberal-minded person would believe, that, gay people should be able to do what they want, for the most part, of course. Black people are human beings, and they can do what they want, and they're capable. They should be able to live free lives just like everyone else, and we live in a largely a pretty fair place, and it's sad that people will spend their whole lives berating the system that gives them the opportunity to make something of themselves. You better go out and get to work. I mean, really, you better start getting to work, because if you're able to tell me, oh, my parents didn't teach me this, they didn't teach me how to handle my finances, I wasn't taught how to manage things, I wasn't taught how to deal with people correctly, or I wasn't shown proper, there was a lot of chaos in my household, and I mean, me too. Welcome to Earth. I think most people have chaotic households, with the exception of a few. One of my parents died of a drug overdose when I was 6. I was raised by a single parent. That parent had a big fat mortgage and no money to pay that mortgage. The family business was taken by the parent who died, who died's parents. So my dad, who died, his parents tried to take everything, because they had given him a lot of money to help start his business, and he'd spent it all because he was a drug addict eventually, and he went back out and he was sober for a while, and then he wasn't, and then spent all his money on drugs, and the business was taken, and all that my mom had was a big fat mortgage. I mean, most of us have lived relatively hard lives, and even the people who I know who have had a lot easier lives have still had hard times, very, very, very hard times. But, you better get to work. You better start working, because the world's not going to work for you. If you're gonna tell me that you haven't been taught these things, you haven't learned this, you haven't learned that, you weren't taught this, you weren't taught that, and tell me that that's why you can't succeed, well, that's kind of a problem, because you've completely laid out your blueprint for success right in front of you and me, and you've looked at that blueprint, picked it up, showed me, and said, I can't do this. You better get to work. I mean, really, you better stop feeling sorry for yourself, and you better stop feeling sorry for people of color, because in 2018, and really over the past 4 fucking decades, black individuals have had the opportunity to become successful, and they haven't, and that mostly is their fault. The same reason why, it's the same reason why anyone doesn't become successful. I mean, a lot of it is luck. You do have to get lucky. I mean, maybe fucking Jordan buys a Honda Civic and has 250,000 trouble-free miles, and just everything just works out and nothing breaks down, and he's able to save all his pennies, and he doesn't have to spend any money on these massive repairs, and it just works out for him over the course of 15, 20 years or whatever, and he just gets really lucky, and then you might have Jay, who she buys a Toyota Corolla, and the fucking transmission goes out, and she has to get another car, and then she gets evicted from her place because she fucked up, was late on rent or whatever, or she got fired or laid off, and then has another repair for her other car, and a lot of it is luck. I mean, some people just get hit with every fucking bump in the road, and other people don't, and it's a lot of the times it's purely luck. It's not circumstance. It's not what you were afforded by your parents. It really is luck. But the biggest thing that it is just hard work. I mean, really, stop feeling sorry for yourself. It's time